Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Career Q&A with All Faiths Children's Advocacy Center. I'm your host, Vanessa Garzone, HR Generalist Recruiter here at All Faiths. I'm here with Brittany Howell-Abate, our Director of Clinical Services, and our Director of Marketing and Producer, Regina Alvarez. All Faiths has always been a part of the Albuquerque community since 1956, growing and changing, but always abiding by our mission that we are the trusted advocates for children and families that have been affected by trauma. I'm proud to say that as an organization, we are constantly evolving and growing and changing with our community's needs and have so many wonderful programs. So we always encourage people to ask questions, and during the career Q&A, we encourage viewers to type in their question. So here with us today is Brittany Howell-Abate. Brittany, thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
All right, so Brittany, tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. So as you said, my name is Brittany Howell-Abate. I am a native New Mexican, so born and raised in New Mexico, lived here all my life. I have 2 young kids and a husband, so my family is here in Albuquerque. And in 1 month, I will be celebrating my 10-year work anniversary with All Faiths Children's Advocacy Center.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yes, 1 month away.
Wow, we're going to throw you a party.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Awesome. So, Brittany, what does it mean to be a Director of Clinical Services?
Sure. So for my role, I provide direct supervision to our supervisory team. And our supervisory team consists of 5 supervisors, and each have like a dedicated team that they supervise for our direct care staff. So it includes outpatient therapy. It includes comprehensive community support services, also known as CCSS, and it includes case management. So those are the 3 main programs that are under the clinical umbrella that I direct. And then under each program, there are additional like sub-programs. So for instance, the clinical team, the outpatient therapy team, there is an internship program. There is a clinical assessment program. There's a treat first program. So it divides under each team to subspecialties, so that way we can really provide a comprehensive treatment and support to our clients.
So, Brittany, tell me about your team. How would you describe your team?
Yes, I have an exceptional team. I am so lucky to work with such incredible people. I can go ahead and start by talking about our direct care providers. So those are the outpatient therapists, CSWs, the community support workers, which fall under that CCSS umbrella, and case management. So those are the direct care providers that are part of my program. And these are providers who are so knowledgeable and skilled and trained. They truly have a heart and goal to better the lives of others. They are so hardworking, just engage in so much collaboration and communication, ongoing education. And at the end of the day, what I love the most is seeing their ability to connect with one another, hearing their laughter and jokes as they walk down the hall, connecting. It's so vital working in the field of trauma to still have the ability to laugh and connect with one another and use humor. And so the providers have really found a community within themselves and are really great about connecting, reaching out when they need support, and helping one another. So in addition to the direct care team, the supervisory team that I supervise, as I mentioned, I have 5. They are my backbone. I mean, that is a team that really I can turn to. They are so supportive. They are so committed to the work. They hold their respective teams so close to their hearts. They are true advocates through and through. They are constantly looking, not only how do we help the clients that we're serving, but how do we support our providers? How do we make this work environment manageable for our providers and a place that they can continue to learn and grow and thrive? So The supervisors that are part of my team, I'm so lucky to have them. We also use a very good amount of humor when we connect and meet. And so it's so nice to be able to know that I can turn to my supervisors and know that they are going to be able to carry forward any action item, any challenge, and really meet it head on.
That's a lot of love for your team, truly. A lot of passion behind it.
Yes, they really are. They deserve it.
So something that we talk about here at All Faiths is, what is your why? Why do you get out of bed every morning? Why do you keep coming through those double doors every day? And why do you keep coming back? So Brittany, what is your why?
I will say my literal why I get out of bed every morning is because I have two young kids who do not let me sleep in. They wake up with a lot of energy and action, so they physically make me get out of bed. And my kids are also my why for why I do this work. So as I mentioned, I'm a native New Mexican. I have family here in Albuquerque. I'm raising a family here in Albuquerque. And so my goal is to help make Albuquerque and the surrounding community as safe as it possibly can be for children and families. And I believe that starts by addressing childhood trauma, by helping to prevent additional trauma, teaching the community about generational trauma so they can understand the signs and how to break certain cycles. And that's what All Faiths can provide.
So All Faiths is known for the trauma-informed approach. Can you shed some light on what that is?
Yeah, so trauma-informed approach is a term that really encompasses a lot. So to be trauma-informed means a whole lot of things. It means being able to recognize signs of trauma. So just having education and training on what does trauma look like? What does childhood trauma look like? Because trauma that a child experiences can look much different than trauma that an adult experiences. So having that knowledge, that education, that training, and recognizing the signs of trauma is key. That's huge. It means knowing how to respond to the individual that is in front of you today. So that means having to tailor your approach every single time you meet with a client, every time you meet with an individual, because we know that just because they have a diagnosis of, let's just say, PTSD, that can look and present itself so differently because of a variety of factors: age, support system, was it one trauma, is it chronic trauma? So having the knowledge of, not only do I know this is trauma and I'm recognizing this, but I need to know how to respond to each person every single time they present, and knowing that your presentation and your interventions might need to shift. So it's not this prescriptive treatment. You're tailoring everything to that individual need. Being trauma-informed is really about slowing down to get there faster. And that's something that we really want to help educate the community about. We want to educate parents about that, caregivers, and external providers that we're working with, that to address trauma is not a quick fix. It's not a short-term 10-session, get in, get out. You were solved. You're cured of your trauma. It means really slowing it down to get there faster. And in that slowing down is building that connection and safety with the individual and the family. So having a safe space is vital. Knowing how to create safety in your presence, whether that's the outpatient therapy where clients come to us, and so our providers are being very thoughtful of, how is this space that I'm holding, my office, how is this a safe place for them? How is this trauma informed? To our providers who work out in the community. So if that means going to a park or going to their home, how are they ensuring safety, both physical safety and that emotional safety? Having that reciprocity and knowing that this is a team, we're working in collaboration. It's not, I'm the provider, I have this hierarchy, and I'm going to tell you what to do, client. It's really shifting that approach to making it a collaborative, transparent treatment. And so it's constantly asking for feedback. It's checking in. It's helping to increase a client's self-reflective capacity so that they can learn more about themselves. They can learn what they need to do to better their lives.
So overarchingly, why would you say the trauma-informed lens is so important?
I think it's because of the need to tailor everything and to know that a subset of people or a diagnosis can't always be treated in the same way. Having that knowledge of, if we're working with kids, we are literally meeting them at their level. So that might mean sitting on the floor with them. That might mean learning about what Disney show that they're into, currently. It's really tailoring everything to meet that person's need, and then being able to educate them in a manner that is going to connect with them. So not using clinical jargon, not trying to present as, the jack of all trades. I know how to approach everything and how to treat everything. It's really slowing everything down and meeting everybody on an individual basis. And that's where that creates that safety, that emotional release. So a client can know, I can say these things that maybe I've never said before, or I can present in a way that I've never presented before with you, provider, because there's this safe space. So that's key. We really need to see people not having to hold back because they're worried that their provider is going to judge them. So it's knowing that there's this safety and connection and non-judgment.
So important.
Yes.
So All Faith's clinical services see children. What are the qualifications for a child to be seen at All Faiths?
Yes, so we really specialize working with children, and in working with children, we know that we also need to work with their family system. So we work with really 0 through adulthood. Requirements are that a child and or family member comes and completes a comprehensive assessment to determine the level of care that's needed. So a basic requirement is that someone needs to have a mental health diagnosis, and that's completed when they come to All Faiths and complete that first initial comprehensive assessment. After that has been determined, we really tailor the treatment to each person. So it might mean someone only needs individual therapy. It might mean that someone needs individual therapy and case management and CCSS to help with the variety of needs. So we really take the information that we get, and then work collaboratively with the family to determine this might be the best level of care for you, and how can we work together to ensure that it's not going to be too overwhelming for you.
So let's say I'm a brand new therapist, brand new master's degree, brand new license. What does that look like for me if I wanted to start at All Faiths?
Yes, we really enjoy having new clinicians. We are looking for people who are open and curious to learn more about their skills and really learning about trauma. And again, I'll stress childhood trauma, because childhood trauma does look different than adult trauma. And often in textbooks and things that we read or learn about, research, it tends to be guided towards adults. And so if someone wanting to work at All Faiths, we really look to see that there's this interest and curiosity in learning about what childhood trauma looks like, how that impacts their life development, how the family plays a huge role in that.
So what are the benefits of working at All Faiths as a therapist?
Yes, so I will share, I think there are a lot of benefits. So one, any licensed clinician needs to have ongoing CEUs, continuing education units. At All Faiths, we are so happy to provide all of the CEUs that a clinician needs internally, which means a clinician does not need to go out and look for external CEUs and pay for them out of pocket. So the vast majority, if not all, of one's CEUs can be received in-house, internally, without having to pay for it. So that's a huge one. Additionally, supervision. We provide weekly individual supervision to all of our direct care providers, and it's with a consistent supervisor every week. So the clinicians or a new CSW can learn from their individual supervisor. They're creating that consistency, that repetition of, I know every single week, if I've had a difficult week, I can go and meet with my supervisor, get feedback, learn new skills, share what's coming up for me so that they can then continue to do this job. So free CEUs, free weekly supervision is huge. And the connection, I think, is just having that camaraderie and collaboration with each other. So we really try to have people feel like they can reach out to any supervisor that they can, whether it's their individual supervisor or not. If they need help and support, our goal is for anyone to be able to help and support them. So another perk is to have that sense of security and connection by doing this as a team versus doing it individually on their own.
And this is a salaried position, right?
It is a salaried position, which means all of our direct care providers get paid whether the client shows or not. So contrast to contract work, where typically you only get paid if your client shows, it is salaried. So we know that the clients that we work with have a high level of trauma. They have high level of stressors. Oftentimes it's not manageable for them to make every single session every week. And so instead of hindering the provider's salary or having them stress and worry, my client can't come because they can't afford gasoline to drive here, that can help remove some of that stressor because they know they're going to get paid whether their client shows or not. So the salary really helps.
Another example of the trauma-informed approach.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So we also have a lot of safeguards to take care of our people, which, it's included in our benefits, which is health, dental, vision. We also have a really robust EAP system, which is our employee assistance program. We also encourage people to take time off. We have 3 PTO banks, personal, sick, and vacation, and 9 paid holidays to take throughout the year. So because we have all of this, Brittany, can you talk to me about what is vicarious trauma and what does that mean?
Sure. So we absolutely recognize that not only our direct care providers, but any employee working at All Faiths is subject to experiencing vicarious trauma, which is essentially secondhand trauma. So even if you're not in a clinical field, you're not meeting with a client every day, we recognize that working at an agency that our whole goal is addressing trauma, that can put the employee at risk of experiencing the secondhand trauma or high burnout, knowing that something is not feeling right, whether it's a trauma that they've personally experienced or not. Oftentimes it doesn't even need to be something that they've personally experienced, but when you're inundated hearing about all the trauma that happens in this community, it can have an impact on someone. It can really change the way you look at the world. It can change your feelings of safety in your community. And so we talk about that. We want to talk about vicarious trauma, how that's coming up for our providers, when, where, and having the supervision or additional resources such as EAP to turn to, because we don't want somebody to try to resolve that on their own. And we want to normalize that this happens. It's part of signing up for this field, and you can still work through it. You can get support. You can still manage and continue to do the work that you want to do. So yes, vicarious trauma is a topic that we want to check in on and address as often as we can to ensure our providers are able to maintain and continue doing the excellent work that they do.
So we're always looking to hire more talent. If this seems to be something that you want to do or have further questions, please feel free to reach out via our website at www.allfaiths.org or send us an email at recruitment@allfaiths.org. And feel free to keep a sharp eye on our Facebook postings. And finally, a special thanks to our Director of Marketing and Producer, Regina Alderette. Without her brilliance and collaboration, none of this would be possible. Thank you everyone for your time, and tune in next time for our next Career Q&A Spotlight.